Welcome to the UltraCycling magazine show.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Jim Lawyer back from the dead for tonight's live show of the UltraCycling magazine, the show about all things ultracycling, long-distance cycling, cycling in general. Hey, Lee, how's it going tonight? I think Lee is still muted. Okay. Well, tonight's show is going to be good. Lee, you back yet?
Okay. I was getting, we were trying to start Instagram tonight for the first time. Jim, I couldn't find out where to turn my speaker off.
Okay.
So I was getting a terrible delay there.
Okay, gotcha.
We're always trying something new here, folks. And yeah, we're doing great. Hey, we have got big news, Jim.
Definitely. A lot of news in the ultracycling world.
You go with it.
All right. Well, as most of you might have seen on the social media, Race Across America announced a new race, so to speak, as part of RAM, Race Across the East. And us in Ohio are lucky enough to have the start here in Blanchester, Ohio at our great time station 43. So this coming 2024, we will have the Race Across the East starting in Blanchester. And we've got big things planned. I know it's been in the works for quite a while now, and we still got a long way to go before we start in June. But the race will start Wednesday, June 19th, and we expect a good turnout. We've seen a lot of good reaction based on what I've seen on social media. Don't you think so, Lee?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of action online about it, and hopefully a lot of those people will sign up.
Yep, and you need to sign. The registration, I believe, will start January 1st. And we're limiting the number of entries this year to 55 till we get our feet wet on the first race start. So, and I'll be the one there starting everybody. So I'll be your George. Hit the Race Across the East.
We're going to be George Thomas.
There you go. Not big shoes to fill, and I don't think I'm going to do as good a job, but we'll do the best we can.
Well, you'll have to practice get some voice training before then.
There you go. Definitely.
Yeah.
So we're very excited that they've given us the opportunity to start there. And I know a lot of people have expected it. It's about 628 miles, I believe, to the finish from the start. And it follows the same route as RAM.
I woke up this morning thinking about 628 miles, and I thought, that's 1,000 kilometers.
Yep.
Just
how about that?
Tad more.
Yep.
And so, folks, fans of ultracycling, or if you'd like to be a fan of ultracycling, put June 19th. Is that it?
June 19th. It's a Wednesday.
In your calendar, and be at Blanchester, Ohio, because not only will the Race Across the East be starting there.
There you go.
That's likely when the leaders of the Race Across America will be coming through, Jim, about that time.
Yep, that's why we plan to start then. We want to get everybody to the finish about the same time. So
it's
going to be a lot of
action there.
Yep. And we are actually moving the time station to where the start will be. And right now we are set with hopefully no problems happen. We'll be at the Blanchester High School. So for the start and for the time station. So we're moving the time station a little bit farther, closer to the finish, but not much, about 1.5 miles.
Okay. That's great. Looking forward. So get that ticker running, Jim. And
all right, we will do that.
So people will know that to put in their comments and questions, and for our
I got to remember how to do all this stuff.
Yeah, well,
Work's been killing me, and I got work in one ear and show in the other ear right now.
under banners.
Yep, I got it.
While you're doing that, I'll tell people about Valerio, if that was going to be your. But we were happy to see that Valerio Zamboni. You remember the old Timex watch commercials, Jim?
Yes, I do.
You take a licking and keep on ticking.
There you go. Definitely.
That's
Valerio.
That's Valerio Zamboni, and he is going to do a World UltraCycling Association challenge ride from Florida north to south, starting the 21st. That's just a few days from now. I've been in touch with Valerio. Hopefully, we might get some video from there, but it's an awful short time to pull that off.
There you go. And we hope Valerio does a great job. We know he will.
Yeah, he's just one tough cookie.
There you go.
In other news, guess what? Sebring's coming back.
Yes, it is. And guess who was the first entry?
Jim Lawyer was the first person to enter, and we had a little video. We did a video, and we found out there's some kind of glitch with iPhones, Jim.
Yep, and that's what I was on. Well, no, I wasn't on that. I was on my work computer, but I think there was a problem.
Yeah. Anyhow, who knows? But you're an image here, Jim.
There you go.
Larry Oslin, glad to have you here with us. And you gave us some great news. You're going to bring Sebring back again. Is that correct?
That's right. It's been a 2 or 3 month journey for me to try to work out all the details, but I finally got it worked out.
And what's the dates?
The dates are it'll be March 23rd through March 24th.
Okay. And will you have the track available?
We will not have the track. That's really kind of the main reason why the Rotary Club kind of canceled it the year before. The track has been a lot harder to get a hold of since NASCAR took it over, they just wouldn't even let people have nighttime stuff anymore. So we're going to have it in a different venue for the nighttime part. Okay, we got Jim with us. Jim, you got any questions? You signed up, aren't you?
Yeah, we were the first ones to sign up.
Oh, way to go.
We're doing the Tandem in April. So right now I've got to set up for the 100, but I just noticed that you've got the 100's not starting the same place as the other ones. So I may switch this to the 6 hours so I can cover more racers.
Okay.
All right, very well. So again, in the show notes for this show, you'll see a link to the website that Larry has taken over. And also there's a link there to the registration where you can sign up. So we're happy to have it back, Larry. Thank you for doing this. I thank a lot of people. Do you think this is going to be a kind of a firm date, or will you move back into the February you expect?
Well, I'm kind of thinking it might be a firm date, but Alberto started the Miami 12 to kind of, give us something to do in February last year. And so I don't really want to kind of preempt him and have two different events that people have to choose from. So I'm really thinking that the March date might work out better, just partly because there's more daylight. The old Sebring, you had to start in the dark and you had to finish in the dark for the 12-hour. Now we got a whole nother hour, which is great. So the 12-hour riders can start in the daylight and finish in the daylight. And then there's also less chance of it being cold. I know the first year I did Sebring 10 years ago, it was like 30 degrees at the nighttime part. And that's just less likely to happen in March as well. So I'm thinking that I'll probably keep trying to do it in March unless something else happens that makes more sense not to.
Okay, well, let's don't get too far ahead of ourselves here.
Right.
Awesome.
Okay, great to have all these new things happening, Jim. And we did have a question about Race Across the East. Let's answer that.
Yes, and the answer to that, I'm 99.9% sure that you do not have to be a full RAM qualifier, or you have done a RAM qualifier to ride Race Across the East or Race Across the West, correctly?
I think it's probably going to be the same as Raw.
Yeah, yes.
Because Race Across the East is a RAM qualifier.
Right, that's correct. So,
And
come one, come all.
and for those people who said they would look forward to that because they didn't want to ride across the Rockies,
Yep.
you ain't never been across West Virginia.
There you go. I know. Out of the two, even though the other one's longer, I don't know which one would
I'm
be
telling
easier.
you, that's a toughie.
Yep.
Anybody that's been there can do
Probably
it.
a draw, definitely.
Hey, and so we got to get on to our guests, but we do have
Definitely.
a little more business to take care of here.
Yep.
We're going to have a real fine time as a holiday. We are taking 2 weeks off, but in the middle of it, we're going to have a holiday special with none other than Jill Mooney and Joe Barr over in Ireland. We're going to celebrate the holidays with them and also with their oatmeal. And I wonder if they could get us some of those Mooney cakes so we could have some over here too, you suppose?
That would be awesome.
I don't know, but we're going to talk about Joe's recovery and Jill's part in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a great time. And hey, guess who we got on in January? I think it's the 21st coming up at long last. Christoph Strasser is going to be with us.
Nice. That'll be great. That'll be a good show.
And the pandemic, we had him all lined up, and then the pandemic hit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the pandemic is going to be blamed for everything for years to come, Jim.
Yep.
I think. Anyhow, hey, enough of this. I want to introduce Tina. You got your sound on, Tina?
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Yes.
I can hear you just fine.
Yep, then sounds together.
Hey, we're glad to have you with us. I thought this would be a great time to have you. And Tina was on a part of a Ford Tandem team. Was it 2018, Tina?
That's right, 2018.
And C2C. You were on the show then, maybe a couple times. I don't know. Anyhow, and you are going to be doing Raw this year, aren't you?
Yep, I'm going to be doing solo Raw.
Nice.
And who's your pilot?
He is a guy by the name of Eric Gomez, who is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he has raced Team Ram once and crewed for 2 different teams.
Okay, well, maybe we'll talk to you more about that later, but we wanted you to bring you in here to talk to these Kiwis. And I'm going to bring Joanna in,
Okay.
Joanna Sharpe, who's our girl Friday in New Zealand.
Definitely.
Dare we call you a girl, Joanna?
Oh, you most definitely can. That's a compliment.
Yeah.
May I start by saying Merry Karamiti or Happy Holidays for us in New Zealand. This isn't a fake backdrop, people. This is real. This is what it's like in New Zealand right now. So for all of you that not been here, this is every reason why you need to get over and visit us. Look how good our weather is.
That's for sure. My daughter's been there, but I have not. So anyhow, maybe someday. Who knows?
I've been close, but not to New Zealand.
You want to introduce our guest, Jim?
Yeah, we'll bring on Hannah Pascoe. Let me add her to the stage. And Kara. How are you both doing?
Hi, we're good.
Very good.
Hey there.
Awesome.
Well, let's get these 3 ladies up at the top.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do
because
that.
Joanna's going to be our host tonight, our interviewer. And Tina, anytime you've got a question or a comment, just chime right in. Okay?
Gotcha.
You just cut me off, Tina. I'm a chatterbox. I am so excited. Thank you to Lee and Jim for letting me ask some questions today, because I cannot tell you how excited I am to have the privilege of having Kara and Hannah here with us today, who, as far as I'm aware, are the first blind tandem team to cycle the length of New Zealand, and what an epic journey it is. So I just have to start by saying Kia Merry Karamiti to you both, and just how amazing your achievement is. Thank you so much for joining us. How long have you guys actually been cycling together? Because you guys are cousins, right?
Yes, we are. So we started cycling together around 2016, 2017 after doing our own endurance events.
So what kind of led to that? Why did you decide to sort of partner up together and take on adventures as a tandem?
Bit of a long story. So we linked up during training for our first Challenge Wanaka event. We done it separately at the time, and Cara offered to pilot me for a charity ride that we do down here in sort of Queenstown to Invercargill every year. And from that, she also offered to guide me in a Challenge Wanaka, which is your run, bike and swim. And then one thing kind of led to another, and she encouraged me to go and pursue a Paralympic dream on the track. And yeah, we've just done off and on tandeming together ever since. And coming out of Paralympics training this year, we kind of came together to plan this out.
So that's a question I've got to ask. I mean, the length of New Zealand, like many people ride Tour Aotearoa, which for those of you outside of New Zealand, you should all come and do, by the way. There's a cycle path that takes you the entire length of New Zealand. Most people ride it over summer. It's a bit of a rite of passage. But the idea of riding what we called the long white ride from Cape Reinga to Bluff and sort of non-stop or with a crew, that's not that common. So guys, where did the idea come from that you thought, hey, I know what we'll do. We'll just cycle the length of New Zealand?
So it's something I know Cara's always wanted to do. And it's always something I had looked at doing after coming out of high performance, as I knew that transitioning out of something huge would be difficult for me to do. And because it didn't, go the way that I wanted to finish out on something big. And I knew that there was very little blind people who have actually cycled the length, apart from one guy. He did do the official Te Awaroa track, where I wanted to be the first person to do it on the road, as well as the first blind female to do that. So I just wanted to have something to do that was huge.
It's an absolutely epic achievement, and I think it's underestimated, even just the route planning. So I know it took me a long time, and I had a lot of assistance when I put my route together, and your route was really different. So I don't know, Cara, can you kind of explain to us maybe how did you guys come up with designing the route that you were going to take? Because again, for those of you outside of New Zealand, the kind of, let's call them unofficial rules is you can't use motorways. Obviously that's illegal, right? So that's against the rules. But other than that, it's the fastest journey from Cape Reinga, which is spiritually really important here in New Zealand. It's where spirits depart this world into the next, and that's at the very top of the island. And it has to finish at the lighthouse down in Bluff, which is at the very bottom of the island. But how you go about getting from one to the other is entirely up to you. So how did you pick your route?
I wanted to pick the shortest, naturally.
Good call.
And then the other thing is, it was all about timing, wasn't it, Hen? When are we going to do it? How does it fit with our family life and work life? And Hannah wanted to finish off the year and have it done. So, of course, we picked November after my daughter turned 21. I said, we can't go before the 21st. And then, the shortest route off the motorways, the maps did do my head in, so to speak, a wee bit, because what you don't know is the little towns and the right way to go. I just kind of had to wing it, and lots of people gave us some maps and their Strava accounts to look up. I basically went with the shortest route and the most direct day hand, just so we could finish in the 19-day window. We didn't have a rest day, and we just needed to get from A to B each day and hit those targets, weather permitted, of course. We had a cyclone the week before, so we were starting to get a little bit worried about weather. But we seemed to get through, and we were very lucky. Yeah. So the mapping
lands of the cyclone nowadays, right?
Yeah. And the weather now is terrible, isn't it? So we were very lucky.
Logistically, it seems to me like, I know you had a crew and I had a crew, but for them, managing one human was a real feat. And it's been a question that myself and a lot of my friends have asked me to talk to you guys about today. How on earth did you go about, or as a crew, logistically managing two people's hydration, two people's fueling, two people's need for personal stops, two people's just being over it from time to time? Did you have a fixed plan, guys, or did you just decide to take it as it came each day?
Yeah, take it. It definitely got better, didn't it? And after about a week, we had an amazing support crew. We had two aunties and my dad who drove. It was like the 16 weeks out. I mean, most people plan 16 months out. We had 16 weeks to plan the accommodation, the transport, the bike, which we only both rode together when we picked it up in Auckland. So we didn't even get to trial that one. But it was spot on, Hen? The bike was mint. We picked up the van in Auckland, drove to the top. Then we realised the little things, how do we fit it all in the van? The logistics stuff, and then pack every day. What are we going to eat? We had a friend that joined us as well in case I couldn't make it through the end, but we wanted Hannah to make sure she had a backup pilot in case something happened to me. So there was 6 of us in a van. I took my bike as well as the Tandem and another bike and all of our gear. We realised that we all sleep differently, eat not quite differently, but, we have different patterns of behaviour, don't we, Hannah? And by the first week, it was hard work, but we managed to get a routine and a rhythm going, and it was awesome. I absolutely loved it.
Hannah, how do you communicate, Hannah, when you're on the bike then with Cara? Cara's obviously the pilot in this instance, and you're the stoker. So how do you kind of communicate between you? Is it hard?
No. I think what's helpful is Cara's a talker and very easy to talk to. So we talked a lot. And after, I think that it took those first couple days to really get into what I call pedal communications and just working out how each other ride. So it probably took those first few days, and then riding seemed quite easy after that. And you can always feel what's happening in the pedals. We can talk to each other about if someone's not pulling the weight or working too hard and things like that. So communicating was probably the easy part of riding.
For those of us who are geographically challenged, what's the distance that you're talking about? And tell us what an average day looked like for you.
Oh gosh, well, I think our shortest day was 30 Ks, which was halfway into the ride when we got into Wellington. And one of our longest days was 150 Ks. And it was probably quite an easy day because we had a tailwind. And it was probably more about the elevation we had to climb each day. That was probably more harder than the distance, because on some days you could have a, say, 120K ride, but you would be climbing 1,500 meters of elevation. So there could be a few major climbs in that day. And then you could be battling a headwind as well. So it was really changeable.
I think that's actually a really good question, because for people outside of New Zealand, and I understand, questions that I've been asked and before, it's a long, thin country. So from north to south, it's about 2,200 kilometers. But of course, that's split into 2 islands. So you've got to obviously navigate getting across from one to the other, which is fairly logistical in itself. But the amount of elevation, we are a country that has everything from active volcanoes, dormant volcanoes, glaciers. We're very mountainous. So the amount of climbing, that must have been fairly arduous at times, I imagine.
We were quite worried about the climbs, weren't we, Hen? Because of other people, when you get to this point, you're going to have this climb in it. And getting feedback from others who have done things like this actually stressed us out a little bit more than when we were older. And we're like, oh, is this what they were talking about? Because it wasn't actually that bad. The lovely Peter, who built our Tandem in Auckland, he gave me the biggest climbing gears I could get, or the lowest.
Nice. Yep.
It was
gave me
amazing.
nice fat tires for comfort, and it wasn't as bad as people were telling us. So that stressed me out as a pilot too, leading into it, thinking, well, we changed our cleats to mountain bike cleats in case we couldn't climb, we'd walk. But we didn't even walk, so we were quite proud of ourselves getting over the bumps, we called them. Yeah,
and I think what was really cool was Kara's a natural climber, like just she climbs a Crown range all the time, don't you? And I think I was very lucky that, you know, Kara's amazing climbing ability too, and so I just learned how to climb as we went as well, because I'm not a strong climber. But
But the Crown Ranges, again, just for those outside of New Zealand, Cara and Hannah, let's just let them know. The Crown Ranges is we have the Southern Alps, which is a mountain range that runs down the length of the South Island. And the Crown Ranges takes you across across the Southern Alps in part. So when she just casually drops in that she climbs the Crown Ranges from time to time, I guess it's probably akin to some of the gnarlier aspects that you might find in Race Across the West or upcoming Race Across the East. It's quite arduous.
Yeah, it is,
especially on a tandem.
Yes, I've had a lot of experience with that. And the thing of it is, in the East, we're not so high as the Rockies, but they come one right after another, and they're sharp and steep.
Steep. There you go.
Right, because in the eastern part of the U.S., they don't have rules about how steep the climbs can be on roads, whereas in Colorado, you can't have as big a grade. You know, the climbs are longer, but they're not as steep.
That's
Kara,
quite fascinating.
Were you a pilot of a tandem before doing this, or is this your first experience being a pilot?
Yeah, look, it's classic how we taught ourselves to ride. So my bad habits, if I was to join a tandem group, I've got some shockers. But we just taught. Hannah and I had a 250k charity ride coming up. That's what got us into tandem. And we just sort of self-taught. And I could only ever turn right. I was always too scared to go left because it's such a big bike. And so we did 5 training rides before this 250k charity bunch. So there was little things in there that we were like, oh, I think I prefer the outside of a bunch and also the front, because then I don't think as much as a pilot, because, you know, you're in a charity ride. Not everyone rides in a bunch and knows how the tandem works.
There you go.
But with the group that we were with, they were so supportive, and just let us do our thing, like, move, please, we're big. And so we would be pretty much the slowest going uphill. But we would motor down at about 80 k's an hour down the down, which is quite scary for Hannah on the back if it's windy as well, Han? Just hold on, let's go. That bike that we used to ride was totally not really fit for purpose, Han? But the bike we
used to ride a Cannondale. Oh gosh, a heavy Cannondale.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we got this big, it was like a BMW type tandem built for us for this ride. And it was just, I don't want to go back to the old bike now.
There you go. It was a beautiful bike.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Very lucky. So, yeah, we just self-taught. And then when Hannah went to track, we did go on the track for the first time and self-taught there. But Hannah needed someone who's got more time. I mean, I couldn't. Hannah needed for the training and to go further in her para dream. So it's good she got some young fit ones, didn't you, Han?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with my own tandem skills, I was lucky to learn from a retired Paralympic pilot, and she came out of retirement especially to help me learn how to road race. And I think that's where I picked up a lot of my technical skills around that, because as being totally blind, it's actually quite hard to learn the techniques involved in just riding a bike. Yeah.
Cara, can you talk to me a little about how you find the responsibility of being the pilot? I mean, this also goes for actually, you know, we've got 2 para athletes here who've ridden as Stokers, but I just imagine that the responsibility of being the pilot, does it feel overwhelming at times?
Good question. Yes, sometimes. Like I try not to stress too much to poor Hen about the downhill. I'm just not a fan because it's such a big bike, and what you don't see round a bend, so to speak, is gravel, potholes, roadkill, and then you're going at 70 k's even on the brakes. And that's my most nervous time, is the downhill into corners. Trusting traffic will give us a wide berth. But other than that, no, I don't stress too much, Hen? It's other than the downhill in the wet. We had a wee whoopsie in Wellington, and because it was wet, and the tyre just slipped on the curb, and off we went. But it is a bit of responsibility. But I'm a bit of a control freak, so I think it's okay, because then I get to do what I want, and it sounds terrible, like I've got to work in with Hen, which I know we do well, but sometimes I'd be saying, Hen, how's that? And then she'll go, yeah, that's good. And then I'll go, oh, actually, no, it's not. So I'd get to control it suit me, but I forget that there's two of us there, and, Hen's so good at trusting me. I don't know how she does it, because I put myself on the bike unfolded before we left, and I was so stressed out on the back, giving the trust to that front person.
Yeah.
So I don't know how the Stokers do it, honestly. Yep. Far out.
Can I ask that of both of you as Stokers? I don't know with yourself, is it Tracy? But Hannah, you had sight as a younger person. So how does it feel being without sight, sitting behind somebody, as much as you love them, she's your cousin? Is it terrifying at times?
And initially, when I first lost my sight, yes, because your whole sense of balance is thrown out. So it took me a couple of years to actually feel comfortable on a tandem. And then, especially in the last 5 to 7 years, what I've learned is the more relaxed and not stressed I am, the less stressed your pilot will be. Because I think the more stressed you are on the back, the more nervous you're going to make your pilot, knowing that they've got to keep as safe as possible. So I've taught myself to, even if I'm terrified, fake it. So going down some of those hills that we went down over the tour, I would just be biting my lip going down a hill and not tensing too hard on the back, and just putting my feet where they needed to be, going, corner to corner, and just holding on for dear life in my head, because I knew Cara knew what she was doing. So it was up to me to be relaxed, even though I was pissed myself.
I have a question of Tina. Tina, if I'm not mistaken, you were unsighted from birth. Is that correct?
Yes, I had a little bit more sight when I was younger, which I've now pretty much lost all of it. But I'd never really been able to. I pretty much always ridden on a tandem. I got on single bikes when I was a kid, but I couldn't really get very far because I didn't trust, that it was safe. As far as the scariest stuff I've done on tandems is single track mountain biking.
Oh my
wow!
Oh my Lord!
That'd be scary.
Listen, let me tell you something. You should see Tina's outdoor CV. It is absolutely remarkable, and we'll have to get you back on here, Tina, and talk more about that when you talk about your raw experience coming up. But yeah.
Now, being a pilot, Cara, do you communicate, especially for somebody unsighted, or do you say we're going to turn left, turn right, or that kind of thing to aid?
Yeah, like Hen said earlier, I am a talker. I don't shut up, actually. So I will let her know, as she knows, the pedals do a lot of the communicating.
Right. Yeah.
When I start moving the gears around, that we're coming up to a climb. But I'll often say that we're coming up to a climb, or if we corner left, obviously our left leg's going to be up. And so I'll try and give her as much information as I can.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
But she's
Tina, can I ask you a question here, because I'm hoping that you're going to inspire my two sisters here to do more stuff in the future. But as a past Stoker on a tandem team, fatigue, I guess, I can only think for myself. When I get tired myself, I don't communicate well. So a lot of the adventures that you've been on have been, covered a lot of distance in a day. Do you find that fatigue element means that you kind of have to make your days shorter than, say, a solo raw cyclist would do, for example?
Not for me. I don't know what my pilots think about that. But I have in one 400K randonneuring event, I did actually fall asleep on the back of my bike at like 2:30 in the morning, and almost tipped us over. And my pilot got really mad and said, like, "You can't be doing that anymore. Have some coffee."
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So do you, when you're doing your adventure, be it Randonneers or obviously with your prep for Race Across the West, is you know, obviously as a solo participant, you know, we as solo sighted cyclists, we tend to just keep riding and take very minimal breaks. Is it your experience that those breaks need to be timed slightly differently because of the fact there's two of you and you might have different needs? And obviously, as you say, you don't want one of you falling asleep, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is just about pre-race communication and trying to figure out goals. And when I raced in Borrego Springs this fall, we weren't really on the same page because my idea was I basically didn't want to take any breaks at all. Like I said I'd be happy to just like stay standing with the bike all day and never go over to our RV or our chairs or anything. And my pilot wanted to take a nap in the middle of the night. And it turned out we had a lot of bike fit issues. And so she was just having a very, very unhappy day. And it's a long, silly story that I won't go into, but basically my bike was too big for her. And so we did not end up having the kind of performance that I had hoped to have. But a lot of that was about communicating, okay, you know, how many laps do you want to do before we make a plan that we're going to go in and like refuel our food and switch out bottles and that. And so we started out with 3 laps and then we did 2. And then it was like, oh, I don't think I can do more than 1 without another break because this bike stinks. And so it does, I mean, you have to make a plan that's going to get both people to the finish line. And so everybody has to be willing to do some compromises and some discussions on how to make that happen, you know, just like the teams do. We're doing, you know, like if you're doing 2-person ram and you have one person taking a break while the other one's riding, depending on who they are, like their plan's going to differ too, because nobody has exactly the same strategies or needs. And so when you have a tandem, yeah, the breaks are going to be different and the discussions around it have to be different. And the crew has to be pretty attentive because they have to be doubly able to figure out like what's working, what's not. Oh, you know, if the stoker hasn't said anything for an hour, like maybe it's time for a break to see what's going on, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it is logistically, you know, it's sort of the logistical problems of a single squared.
Yeah, because I think you guys, thank you so much for that, Tina. That's really fascinating because I'd never really thought about it until I started obsessively following Hannah and Cara. But it seems to me that you guys got your strategy. It seemed to work really well. Like, I mean, well, you always looked cheerful. You always looked like you were enjoying yourselves. Were there any moments that you questioned whether you were going to make it?
When we did Ram, you mean?
Well, I'm asking Hannah in this instance, but yeah, I'm
gotcha.
interested to hear your response as well, Tina. Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Hannah. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No, I always knew we were going to make it. Even before we started the ride, I could always see the finish line. I think on the bike specifically, the moment I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore, was right at the beginning when we started at the very top of the country. It's a very skinny piece of land, and on our very first day, the winds were up super, super, super strong, and they were coming at us from both sides. The wheels were wobbling underneath us, and we were on this, our light, amazing, beautiful road bike, and I was absolutely terrified. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't think I can do this ride. And we managed to get through that really tough little bit, and riding, it was so easy. We were very, very fit going into it just from our own natural fitness. So we were always going to finish it. no doubt.
Easy
Did you-
55 has
did
a
you-
question. We have
Oh,
a
good.
question
Go on.
Yep.
for Hannah. First of all, it says you're awesome. Have you learned when and how much to lean into a turn? And that's a question I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can feel
Yeah,
it
and
like
I learned
we
that-
do.
my previous coach, as I mentioned before, Paralympic pilot, she taught me how to race into a corner at speed and where to hold your body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I
Excellent.
learned that's where I learned it. Yeah, but it's still scary. But because I'm total, she had to tell me how to have my body because I couldn't just see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what people who've never ridden the Tandem might not understand is that actually the Stoker does have a little bit of steering control.
Oh yeah.
You know, because I can tell when a car was coming behind and my wife thought we were too far over, I could feel the bike, starting to edge over to the side of the road because she was putting that lean in. And tomorrow is Wright Brothers Day. Well, it's that day already in New Zealand, with day of the first powered flight in North Carolina. We Daytonians have to get that in here. And they understood from cycling about the need for leaning in turns. And that's where the Wright brothers learned that from their cycling. They're as bike racers. I just had to throw that in. I'm sorry, Jim.
Oh no, you're good. That's a great fact.
Well, I think one of the things that my mountain biking pilot told me was that he rides with lots of blind athletes, and some of them have some vision. And he said the hardest thing about mountain biking with blind people is when they try to be too anticipatory. So they'll try to oversteer, and you can't do that like on a mountain bike. You just can't. Like, so he likes me because he said you just are really, really still. So he said it's easy to ride with me because like he can control where the bike goes and just tell me where we're going, as opposed to having us working at odds with each other.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
As a pilot, we can feel everything that happens back there.
Yeah.
Guys, has it given you any thoughts that you might do another adventure together? I mean, I've got a few ideas for you. I mean, Tina's here. Hint, 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 hint.
Yes.
What else is there to do, Hen?
I'm actually keen to hear what Tina's done, actually. It sounds like you've done heaps of events in your time. Be keen to learn more, but yeah, for me personally, there's something I'm possibly looking into to finish me out, but at this stage, not sure.
So I'm hearing from that then, Tina, that Hannah is a blank canvas, and therefore there's going to be lots of opportunities, hopefully, to hook you two up after, that we can kind of share some of what you've been experiencing in your career, because I hear Hannah talk about it being the end, and I understand that you had Paralympic dreams that haven't necessarily worked out at this stage of the game quite as you wanted. But with endurance cycling and ultra distance cycling, the slightly older that you are, the more experience you have is certainly a benefit when you're as a solo cyclist. Is that the case, do you think, Tina? As a tandem blind cyclist, does the same apply?
Oh, I'm sure it does. I mean, last two of the last few winners of RAM have been women over 50. So there's no reason why anybody should be thinking they got to pack it in. And RAM 25 has a 2 tandem team category that maybe y'all would like to come over and do it with me.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I'd have to get a pass from my family. That's the hardest thing for me.
You've got Tina's email and you're copied in there. You should find it. And I want to give a shout out to a group in San Diego, the Blind Tandems organization.
Blind Stokers Club.
Blind Stokers Club. It probably should be called, Tina, the Sighted Pilots Club, because I think what they try to do is recruit pilots and train them, as well as the Stokers. And I think there should be more of that. I think this is great. What a great conversation we've had, Jim.
Oh, definitely. This has been a very good show and very eye-opening.
And
Excuse the pun.
I know that Tina wanted to do this, but apparently we've got a blind Stoker on Tandem in Race Across America this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to be on the show in a couple of weeks here. And of course, we want to get Tina and her pilot on later on.
Definitely.
So kind of make a thing out of this and try to become real advocates of this.
Definitely.
And also, Kara and Hannah and Joanna, the three of you, you are commissioned to keep us here at UltraCycling Magazine informed of what you're up to, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Because-
Thank you.
That's absolutely a given. And I have to say, the inspiration, Hannah and Cara, just from me personally,
Yes.
thank you so much. I'm always absolutely fascinated and inspired to watch anybody, but particularly really strong Wahine, get out there and just really show that anything is possible. And I think what you've achieved, it's been fascinating meeting you, Tina. In New Zealand, I don't think that we brave up enough. We see things as being outside of our realms of possibility too often. And I think what Cara, yourself and Hannah have shown us is that if you've got a dream, it can happen. Because I don't believe for 1 second that if somebody had said to you guys 5 years ago that you were going to be the first tandem blind team to cycle the length of New Zealand, that it would have seemed like a reality. And now you've done it. So a huge thank you from me.
Yes.
And I know you're going to be a massive inspiration to heaps of other women and men, but women as well out there. So thank you so very much for what you've done. You've put New Zealand on the map and you've just shown what really, epic women we've got in this country doing amazing things. Thank you.
Definitely.
That's so kind. And it was, one of our highlights, well, there was many, but it was showing the kids that come out of the primary schools.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the girls were like, wow, A, Hannah's blind, but B, you're working mums and you're out there doing it and you can do it. If you break it down, it does come down to heads, up here, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's so important. And we've talked about that when it came to type 1 diabetes. When they had a team, people would bring their kids out to see this team go by.
Yep.
Because, a lot of times they're diagnosed my great-grandson just diagnosed with type 1. He's 10, 11.
Yep.
That's about the age. And, they don't know what to deal with it. And that's a very good time to make an impression. Yeah. And we could do that with our blind children as well. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, I really hate to round this up, but
yes, I agree.
Goodness sakes.
I would just say one other thing, Lee, if I might, which is that I'm particularly impressed by the fact that you were an all-women team, because the one problem that I face is it's very hard to find women who recognize that they're capable of piloting. They're always like, oh no, I'm just not sure. I'm they're just, and they can be cat 1, cat 2 bike racers, and he's like, of course you can do it.
Yes.
But there's and it doesn't help that most of the tandem teams you see are, husband and wife teams, and the guy's always a pilot and yada yada yada. And so I just want to congratulate you, Cara, on being willing to take that on, because a lot of women are just too deferential and they don't recognize their ability and they're not willing. And, you've made Hannah's dream come true, like nobody else could.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we want to thank all of you for being here. And Jim, we want to take a moment because we are going to have one more show this year with Joe Barr and Jill Mooney.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's a good time for us to thank everybody for all the support they've given, particularly in this transition year for us when we
definitely
we went into this rebranding with fear and trembling. At least I did.
Yep.
And my goodness, it has been so well supported. Like people are saying, why didn't you do this before?
Mm-hmm.
And so it has really gone over well. It's kind of gave us entree to a certain extent maybe that we didn't have before, and that's gone over well. We thank all of you for support. We thank people like Joanne who have come on as reporters.
Definitely.
I'm not going to try to name everybody, all our guests, everybody that sent us videos. This has been a fantastic year, Jim.
Yep, and gonna get better next year, guaranteed.
And we're working at it all the time. We stumble around a little bit, like tonight, and the lesson I have to learn again and again: don't try something new on the air. Test it out first.
But that makes it fun, you know.
So, folks, we are going to be streaming on Instagram.
One way or another. There you go.
We just got to figure out how to deal with the sound issue. But anyway, thank all of you. And hey, ladies, don't go away. We want to do a little debriefing. I got a couple of questions, some business I want to ask you when we get away. So let's see if we can't find Greg here somewhere, Jim.
All right, you got to do that?
I got him.
Okay, this is Gregory Zuber, thanking you for watching and sharing.
Music by Kevin MacLeod.